Afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our third Resistance Fair. I'm Kirsten Reynolds. And just to get a few housekeeping items out of the way, there's a restroom over here, and there's restrooms downstairs on the side of the dance studio. I thought I would start us out with some words from John Donahue from his book, To Bless the Space Between Us, a book of blessings. These are words of intention for courage. I thought they would be fitting for today. Oh, I went back to the beginning. Just bear with me here. For courage. When the light around you lessens and your thoughts darken until your body fear turn cold as a stone inside. When you find yourself bereft of any belief in yourself and all you unknowingly lean on has fallen, when one voice commands your whole heart and it is raven dark, steady yourself and see that it is your own thinking that darkens your world. Search and you will find a diamond thought of light. Know that you are not alone and this darkness has purpose. Gradually, it will school your eyes to find the one gift your life requires, hidden within night's corner. Invoke the learning of every suffering you have suffered. Close your eyes, gather all the kindling about your heart to create one spark. That's all you need to nourish the flame that will cleanse the dark of its weight of festered fear. A new confidence will come alive to urge you toward higher ground where your imagination will learn to engage difficulty as its most rewarding threshold. All right, hopefully everybody picked up a packet with just a couple items that we want to highlight. On the back of this page that has the breakout sessions, our upcoming events. We have 3 different book club meetings. Our first book is going to be our Indivisible book, and that'll be the end of February. We're going to meet at Main Street Books here downtown. In April, we're going to have drinking with the candidates. Yeah, that sounds like fun. And then in May, we're going to have a messaging workshop. So learn how to phrase your arguments to help our cause. And then we're going to have our annual picnic in June at Columbia Park again. So that's just the first sets of highlights. And our breakout sessions. We're going to have anti-racism downstairs in the art room with Serge of Greater Lafayette. In the music room, we're going to have reproductive justice lobbying with the Young Women's Task Force. In the dance studio, you can learn about money and politics with our president, Lisa Delhomme. And then up here, we're going to have working with a campaign with Angel Valentine. And then the second set of breakout sessions, in the music room, we're going to have engaging communities and registering voters. Our own leaders from Indivisible, Becky and Chris. In the dance studio, we're going to learn how local government works with Jennifer Tisning, with the Wabash Township trustee. Up here, we're going to have activism and action with Matt. And then after all that is done, we're going to come back up here about you want to start coming up here between like 2:35. We're going to have the honor of listening to our national leader, Leah Greenberg of Indivisible.
Hello, I'm Maria Williams. Can't stand in the light. All pronouns are great for me. And I'm queer and here to tell you about some legislative action and some LGBT plus issues. In the current political and social climate, hate crimes against LGBT plus individuals are on the rise. The most affected are Black trans women. The life expectancy for Black trans women is 35 years old, and that's primarily due to violence. And so today I think it's important that we remember their names. And so I'm going to read off a few names, and after I say a name, please say rest in power. Jaslyn Ware. Zoe Spears. Paris Cameron. Claire Legato. Brooklyn Lindsay. It's important that we remember their names because these are not the only names of people who have died due to their identities. And we must fight for their freedom because until all of us are free, none of us are free. Now moving on to some legislation to keep in mind and to either support or oppose. The first one is Senate Bill 300, which allows religious exemptions for non-discrimination, particularly within the medical field, and this could be detrimental, particularly to trans and non-binary folks. And it's something that we need to oppose. And so you can call your senator and get involved in opposing that. Another Senate Bill 74, it bans the use of non-binary gender markers on state-issued IDs, and that's something we need to oppose because that is detrimental to non-binary and intersex folks in our community, and we must stand with them. There's also House Bill 1088, which would work to exclude trans people from high school sports, and they deserve to be just as involved as their cis counterparts within their high schools. Lastly, two bills that I believe that we should support is House Bill 1083, which allows undocumented people to get driver's license, which is very important, because driving is important. And then also federally, we all need to support the Equality Act, which would be a federal law banning discrimination against LGBT plus individuals. I really enjoy chant, so I would like to end with a chant, one of my favorites. It's a quote from Assata Shakur. And so just repeat after me, and repeat after me with emphasis and energy. It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love and support each other. We have nothing to lose but our chains. As we go forward today and as we learn and as we fight for justice, we must remember we truly do have nothing to lose but our chains. We're not free until all of us are free, so we must stand up, stand out, and fight back. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you, Loraya, and thank you, Kirsten. Good afternoon. My name is Lisa Delhomme, and I am the president of Greater Lafayette Indivisible. Thank you. Andy Tulhalski, one of our members, was going to give this speech, and fortunately he had an emergency, so I'm going to be giving it, but I want to acknowledge that he helped me do it, so thank you, Andy. Okay, so I've been asked to speak about how we are going to win in 2020. But before I do that, I want to talk about what we're up against, and it's serious. So according to the Washington Post, Donald Trump has made over 15,000 false claims in his presidency. Listen to the man speak for a few minutes, and you know right away that that number is probably undercounting. If you read the Mueller report or followed the impeachment hearings or just watched the news, you know that he has used the power of his office for his personal gain, to obstruct justice, to isolate us from our allies, and he's committed crimes that would land him in handcuffs were it not for the office that he holds and the sycophants that shield him from accountability. He maintains a grip on his party's elected officials that has led to their acquiescence of his behavior. Donald Trump will do literally anything to retain power. And this time he's not an outsider. He holds the most powerful office in the world. His enablers have made one bargain after another, and they're willing to destroy every norm, every institution, and every law that gets in their way. They're going to purge voter rolls and strip individuals of their rights. They use fear, intimidation, lies, and bad faith to roil up his base. And they will work with literally any group or nation if it is to their advantage. He has a head start on the entire Democratic field. He's going to raise ungodly amounts of money. He's already raised $143 million last year, and he's going to use that money, and he's using that money to micro-target voters online, and that's everyone. Don't think that you're not being targeted. And he's going to use sophisticated get-out-the-vote tactics to get every MAGA supporter to the polls before and on Election Day. A Trump victory, brace yourself, will probably result in 2 more Brett Kavanaughs on the Supreme Court. And no matter who the Democrat nominee is, he or she will be painted as an extreme and existential threat to everything that the Trump supporters hold dear. It's going to be uglier than 2016, and it's going to be harder than 2016. And they're going to make sure that the people in this room and the people that are watching at home are very, very disappointed again on election night. But I want to make sure that you remember that the majority of voters did not vote for Donald Trump as our president. The Electoral College did that. And he has benefited from a political system in this country that doesn't represent the will of the people. It's a system that is fueled by white supremacy, a system that has been further corrupted by millions of dark money dollars pouring into political campaigns thanks to decisions like Citizens United, a system that allows elected officials to draw their own districts, a system that gives a state like California with 39.5 million people 2 votes in the US Senate, and the state of Wyoming with less than 600,000 people, the same number of votes in the Senate. The 633,000 people that live in Washington, D.C., they don't get any votes in the Senate, and they don't get any votes in the US House of Representatives. It's a system that is okay with voter suppression laws, like voter ID right here in Indiana, and a recent decision to deny voting rights to felons in Florida who can't afford to pay fines. And this is despite a referendum that just happened in 2018 that won with 65% of the vote to restore those rights. That's just not democratic. And this is what we are up against, I'm sorry to tell you. I can tell by your quietness. All right, so now the good news. How we are going to win. And you know what? That's what this fair is all about. It's about giving you the tools to begin to change that. And here's how we're going to do that. We resist, we elect, and we build. Okay, so first, there we go. Probably the next one. This is what we're up against. Yeah? Okay. First, we resist by continuing the work that we have been doing. We protest, we lobby, and we organize. And you're going to see from the video that Matt's going to show you in a minute that we've been doing a lot of protesting, we've been doing a lot of lobbying, and we've been doing a lot of organizing. And we have 2 great breakouts later today, activism and action, if you want to go to the, and reproductive justice lobbying, where you can learn more. I also want to acknowledge that we have a lot of really great groups here today that have done a lot of great work this past year, and I think we should all give everyone a hand of applause. So thank you. But when it comes to victory in 2020, it's really critical that we work together. You know, I mentioned that the majority of the people in the US don't approve of Donald Trump. So the only way that they're going to win is if they can divide us, and that's what they're going to do. And we cannot let them do that. Second, we need to elect representatives who are responsive to the people. We find great candidates, and we support them with our time, with our talent, and frankly, if we can afford it, we need to support them with our money. Today we have breakout sessions, next slide, on how to help a campaign, money in politics, engaging communities and registering voters, and how local government works. I mentioned earlier that Trump supporters are not the majority in this country, but guess what? They show up. Interest in this election is already at a record high, and decisions are made by those who show up. So I'm going to ask each and every one of you, I implore you to vote and vote early, and bring your friends and your neighbors with you when you do that. Greater Lafayette Indivisible is going to be registering non-voters all year long. And if you want to donate today or in the future, that's what we're going to be putting our resources in for the rest of the year. Register as many non-voters as you can. Help people make sure their registration information is correct and on file. Literally drive people to the polls if you can. Because you better believe that Donald Trump's most ardent supporters cannot wait to cast a ballot this November. And we had a surplus of 3 million voters in 2016. So let's make sure that we have a bigger surplus this year and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Thirdly, we need to build an inclusive democracy. And I mentioned earlier how our democracy was corrupted, but let's be honest, it's never really included everybody. I mean, it was only 100 years ago that some women got the right to vote. And we all know that in the Jim Crow era in the South, that they used poll taxes and literacy tests to deny voting rights to Black Americans. We are fortunate that Indivisible's co-founder and Time Magazine's 100 Most Influential People, Leah Greenberg, is going to be here later on today to talk to us about this. And I'm really excited. And finally, Greater Lafayette Indivisible wants to emphasize that we must recognize that our activism must be anti-racist. We need to deepen our understanding of Donald Trump and those like him as symptoms and supporters of white supremacy. So we're really we're really grateful that activists from SURGE, which is Showing Up for Racial Justice, are joining us to offer a session. If you want to go to the offer us a session on anti-racism and activism. Now, you're looking at this and thinking, oh my God. So don't worry if you can't make all the sessions, if there's a session you want to miss, because our great technician, Matt Geyer, has a whole tech team that's going to be recording and sharing all the sessions and all these videos online at our website and on our Facebook page. So I want to end by visualizing what winning would look like. I know I painted a pretty dark picture at the beginning, but let's think about what it would look like if we won. We could preserve and expand voting rights. We can get back to the hard work of restoring our strategic alliances and standing in the world. We can treat immigrants with respect, believe women, ensure that healthcare is treated as a human right, work to save our planet from the climate crisis, support our teachers and make sure they have a good living wage, support our LGBTQ+ community, seek justice for disabled people, stand up for workers, the poor, the middle class, the elderly, the mentally ill, and anyone in this country that could use a leg up, regardless of their age, their race, gender, religion, background, political affiliation, and just all marginalized people. The most important question we have in front of us is not as Hoosiers or as Americans, but as human beings, is what kind of a future will we leave for those that come after us? What do we owe to each other and to future generations? And what will we say when they ask us what we did during this time? Let's be able to tell them that we fought, and that we fought, and that we won. Thank you very much.